Welcome to Souped Up Recipes. Today we're making another Hakka style recipe, steamed pork buns with dehydrated bok choy. I have been craving these lovely delicious buns for a long time. Dehydrated bok choy is probably hard to find around where you live. Don't worry, I'll talk about the substitution and how you can change the filling around in this video. Also, we're gonna focus on how to achieve that soft, fluffy bun texture. So let's get started. This is what I'm using today. We call it Mei Cai Gan. It's a category of some dried leafy vegetables in Hakka cuisine, such as bok choy, lettuce, mustard green. It has an umami taste and unique scent that is hard to describe. We use it in soup, steamed pork slices, stir-fries, dumplings. If you can't find this ingredient, you can use dried shitake mushroom or wood ear fungus. Soak them in some warm water for at least 3 hours in advance, so it has enough time to rehydrate. 3 hours later, take it out, squeeze the water. If you like the flavor of the dehydrated bok choy, you can use the liquid as a vegetarian broth. The end of it is a little tough and fibery. Cut it off and discard it. Slice the bok choy finely and set it aside. Next, let's prepare some aromatics. You will need a few slices of ginger. Cut it into strips and dice it finely. A shallot, cut it in half and slice it thinly. Loosen it up a little bit. A few cloves of garlic, finely minced. A piece of scallion. I like to make a few slits with a sharp knife and then dice it. Heat up your wok and add some cooking oil. My family will make this recipe with ground pork belly, which has more than 40% fat. But the ground pork I'm about to use is less than 15% fat, so I'm using quite a lot of oil here, about 3 tablespoons. Throw in all the aromatics, stir to activate all the aroma. When the shallot becomes a bit translucent, push it to the side so you have room for the ground pork. Use your spatula to break the meat apart. We don't want the meat to stick together, so do your best to loosen it up. When the meat changes color, you can mix the aromatics together, stir for a minute or two, then push everything to the side again. You should see a lot of meat juice appearing on the bottom. Add the dehydrated bok choy. We want to cook the bok choy until it absorbs the meat juice. Mix everything together. Then we add the seasonings. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1.5 tablespoon of Chinese cooking wine, half teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of dark soy sauce. It gives the filling a nice brown color and makes the food look tempting. Okay, once the seasoning is well combined, you can give it a taste to adjust the flavor. It should be saltier than what you normally like because we're gonna wrap it into the unsalted buns. I think mine is good, so I'm gonna take it out. Now your filling is basically done. It is cooked, so you can snack on it if you want. It is so delicious just the way it is. Steamed buns in China have tons of variations. You can change to any filling you want. I have a video about 5 different dumpling fillings. You can watch that and use the filling in steamed buns as well. Let's move on to the bun wrappers. You will need 500 grams of all-purpose flour. To that, add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Whisk to cooperate them well. Here is about 280 grams of water. You might need to use more or less water, depends on different brands of flour you are using. To that, add 1 tablespoon of sugar and 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. Mix until the sugar is dissolved and the yeast should be well distributed. Pour this yeast water into the flour in batches. Mix with a pair of chopsticks at the same time. There are recipes that tell you to dump in all the liquid in one time. You can do that, but I think it will be more even if you mix it in batches. Once it looks like this, you can start gathering the flour together. Don't forget to scrape the bottom of the bowl. Keep kneading it on a working surface because the bowl was a bit limited. In about 5 to 6 minutes of kneading, the dough should be smooth and elastic. We're going to cover that and let it sit for about 5 to 8 minutes. This is not proofing. This is to let the gluten to relax a little so the dough will be much more pliable. Poke a hole in the middle and use that to stretch the dough into a big ring. Cut one side open and you have a long log. Dust more flour on it and roll it even. The amount that I gave is enough to make 12 big buns. So we're going to cut this into 12 even pieces. You don't need a scale, just eyeball it. Sprinkle more flour so they don't stick to each other and cover the rest to prevent them from drying. Take one piece of the dough. We're going to knead it into a smooth, shiny ball. All I'm doing here is to press the dough, fold it in half, and turn the dough. I just keep repeating that. Eventually, the dough will have a smooth, elastic surface. Turn that smooth, elastic surface up and use both hands to shape it into a round ball. If your dough is not smooth, it will show in the final result. The skin of the bun will come out with a rough and ugly surface. I mean, it won't taste bad, but sometimes the look is what makes you want to eat the food. You want to do this fast because the dough is also proofing in the meanwhile. You can see some of the dough on the left side is already getting a little bigger than the right side. That is because I'm filming and working at the same time, so it takes much longer for me. But you should have enough time to do this without them overproofing. Anyway, that is not a big problem. Take one piece of the dough and dust more flour on it. Flatten it with the palm of your hand. Then use a rolling pin to roll it bigger. Lift the sheet up and roll the edge to make it thinner. I have talked about how to do this in many of my videos. You can watch my dumpling from scratch recipe to learn how to do this. Eventually, you will have a wrapper with a thicker middle and thinner edge. Put the filling in the center of the wrapper. This is going to be a big steam bun, so I used about 4 to 5 tablespoons of filling. Okay, let me show you how to close the bun. Your thumb and middle finger go under the wrapper and the forefinger goes above it. Lift it up to make the first pleat. Keep folding it to continue making the pleats. Do it all the way around. When you reach the end, just twist and pinch to close the buns. There you go. Isn't that lovely? I already brushed a thin layer of oil in the steamer so the buns won't stick on it. You can also cut some parchment paper, but be sure not to cover all the holes so the steam can come through. Also, be sure to leave some space between each buns because they will be bigger after steaming. In a big pot, I prepared some warm water. The temperature should be between 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer, just put your hands in there to feel it. Your hand and the water should be almost the same temperature. A warm environment will help the proofing process. You just put the buns above it, let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. It is better to proof and steam all the buns at one time, but my steamer only fits 5 buns, so I have some left here. You should put them in the fridge to slow down the proofing process while the other buns are in the steamer. Also, you should put a parchment paper under the buns because once they are done proofing, the buns are very delicate. It will be much easier to transfer the buns to the steamer with a parchment paper under it. Of course, if you have a big enough steamer to proof all the buns in one batch, that will be perfect. Okay, this pot has been sitting for 20 minutes now. You can turn the heat to high and bring the water to a boil. Once you can see the steam coming up, start counting the time. Let it steam for another 15 minutes. Then you can turn off the heat, but do not open it immediately. Let it sit for at least 3 minutes or else the skin will shrink once the cold air hits the buns, and you will lose the fluffiness. During this 3 minutes waiting, let me give you a tip. Steam buns are freezer friendly. You can freeze them after you steam them. That way, they will last about 3 months. Whenever you want to eat them again, don't need to defrost, just directly re-steam them again. Okay, let's check out the steam buns. That looks so good. I love them when they are nice and hot, freshly come out of the steamer. It is really hot right now. Hard to grab it with my hand, but I just can't wait to open one. Look at that. I wish you were here eating one with me. The texture is soft and fluffy. The filling is very flavorful. Has the unique taste of the dehydrated bok choy, a typical Hakka flavor. It has been 2 years since the last time I had this buns. I just can't help myself and kept eating it until my stomach is full. To be honest, ground pork with dehydrated bok choy is not a popular filling in China. I only had it in my hometown. It's a small city in the south of China. I'm surprised that I can get this ingredient in the US, and I even made a video to share it with you. So I hope you give this a try soon. If you did make it with the dehydrated bok choy, leave a comment, let me know what you think, how you like it. If you can't find the ingredient, I understand you can still make it with the substitution or watch my 5 dumpling filling recipes video. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that like button. New videos coming out every Wednesday, and I'll see you next time. Bye!